what is important. Let's go to Arnab Goswami, our editor-in-chief. He's online. Arnab, your sense of these anxieties or journalistic anxieties at the possible loss of Mamata Banerjee that comes out of these tapes?
Well, yes, Abhishek, this is a big story. It's a huge story. And I think it has many implications. But before I go into the political implications, I would like to say that this, the most interesting aspect about this tape is the fact that the group of people who you are describing loosely as journalists, that may be a controversial application of the term to the individuals who have been exposed to the tape.
I said a certain Delhi set, Lutyens Delhi set, Arnab.
Yeah, you know there are various epithets that we can put to them. I think the most popular phrase going around for these people is now #Clubhouse Journos. because these are the people who would often like to project themselves as as objective, independent, and connected to the ground. But what appears to come across very strongly in the state is that they operate as some kind of a secret society. You know, it's like a group. It's like a cult. It's like a close-knit secret group. It's like a bunch of Freemasons, who have some secret meeting in secret rooms, talking secret talk in secret ways. And then when one of them says, says that, look here, I think it's a person called Arfa Khanum. We'll have to find out who she is. I don't know her. Somebody called Arfa Khanum says in the secret society meeting that I think we've been broken into. I think our inner workings of this meeting, our talk, are being discussed outside. And then there is a deafening silence. And if you notice, there is a moment when there is pin drop silence in the room. All of the members of this secret society of Clubhouse Journos do not know how to react. It's like they've all been exposed. If they could, they would all flee and exit the room at that point of time. But at that moment, Sanjay Hegde was a Supreme Court lawyer. Yeah, and some did, and they ran away. And then Sanjay Hegde, who's a Supreme Court lawyer, also likes to project himself as objective, goes on to warn the rest of the members of the group that we might be getting recorded. And then there is another round of pin drop silence. And then one of them defiantly says, so what? And somebody else, a few of them quickly run away from the group. But then we see some names there. There are different bunches of individuals in the society. Somebody called Rohini Singh. There is some person called Swati. There is some fellow called Prashant. Not Prashant Kishor, some other fellow called Prashant. And then there is Arfa Khanum. And then there is this individual called Ravish Kumar, who appears extremely dejected. Extremely dejected at the popularity of Narendra Modi in Bengal. And now let me come to the other part of it.
Narendra Modi is popular.
Yeah, this whole attitude, oh my God, Narendra Modi is so popular. What the hell are...
It seems we have lost Arnab there. We'll connect him in a while and hope to get him back soon. What is important is Arnab was, as Arnab was narrating, this is a bunch of Clubhouse journos who, with their naive questions, one would say, clearly show that they have a disconnect with the ground. They have no understanding whatsoever of what's happening on the ground in Bengal during elections. And that's why the kind of questions which make even Prashant Kishor, one would say, kind of little irritated a couple of times in the entire interaction. And these journalists are very concerned about the fact that BJP has made inroads. and that they are a little exasperated that Mamata might not be doing as well as they thought or they wanted that she should do. And Prashant Kishor ends up explaining the arithmetic as also the chemistry that might be working between BJP and specifically Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the masses, and the caste dynamics which are at play, and how they might help the BJP more than the Trinamool this time. So I think while on the one hand we see a very professional Prashant Kishor trying to explain everything in as simple a manner as possible, as simple a manner as possible to these journalists who have no understanding of the ground. On the other hand, we have a set of journalists who have not traveled perhaps to Bengal, who are a little starry-eyed about Mamata Banerjee, and that's why a little concerned that she might be losing. And that's why these questions which try to gauge from Prashant Kishor whether the reports that are coming in about BJP making inroads, Narendra Modi being popular are true. Arnab is back with us. Arnab, you were explaining this interaction.
Yeah, and I was saying then what is most flabbergasting is that this group of people goes into silent panic when they realize they are being recorded. Abhishek, listening to this conversation, I would call it a group of people who are trying to plan ways to survive, by grouping themselves together. These are people who are prejudiced, who are biased, who lean towards a certain political side. It is quite apparent that these people are basically getting together almost like in a very closeted manner, and with a sense of impending shock at the possibility of their mascots not doing well in the Bengal elections. In a way, these people are meeting together to discuss why the mandate could not be subverted. So the subversion of the mandate is possibly one reason, but I can certainly tell you this was not a journalistic meeting at all. And why,
Absolutely.
if you are going to have a meeting with a group of journalists, why was Abhishek Kapoor not invited? Abhishek Kapoor is the senior executive editor of the Republic Media Network. Why was he not invited? Why was our political editor, Aishwarya Kapoor, not invited? Why were people from other TV channels and organizations beyond this, people with 10 followers on digital, why were they not invited? It was a cabal. So the
Absolutely.
Clubhouse cabal.
A sect of Delhi. Absolutely.
Yeah, the Clubhouse cabal, Abhishek, which has been completely exposed with this. But then having said that,
right,
let us look at the political factors which also now come into play. I think there is an open admission, Prashant says it, that all political parties on one side, left and Mamata, have used the Muslim vote and have used the Muslim electorate. And he tells this group of people who pretend to be always on the side of the Muslim community. And there is no protest. Neither these people, when Prashant Kishor says, let's admit it, the Muslim voters have been used, the Muslim electorate has been used, I did not hear a word from any of the journalists saying, Prashant, you must not talk like this. We must not use the Muslim community. Ravish Kumar, all these Swati and whoever these people are, they did not utter a word. It was almost as if they knew the Muslim vote is there to be used. They knew the Muslim electorate is to be used. So they speak a completely different lingua in the public domain. I was shocked at that, Abhishek, that here is a political strategist who is openly saying that Mamata uses the Muslim vote or uses the Muslim electorate and they've been appeasing them and there has been Muslim appeasement and there is not one word in counter from any of the Clubhouse journos. Now, what does this mean, Abhishek? Which means the Clubhouse journos are a group of people who are out to prey and cannibalize and use the Muslim community in India. It's apparent and it's clear as daylight. If this had been said before you or me, Abhishek, then we would have immediately protested and said, how could you talk about using the Muslim vote and using the Muslim community in this mercenary manner? They are citizens of India. But did any one of the Clubhouse journos utter a word, Abhishek? Did you hear them? Let me ask you. Did you hear them? They were in nodding agreement, Abhishek. Were they not in nodding agreement, Abhishek? Are you there?
Oh, absolutely, Arnab. I'm there. I can hear you if you can get me. I mean,
Were they not in nodding agreement?
And
which means the Clubhouse journos feel that the Muslims of India must be used to get votes by political mercenaries. Isn't this itself
and
the biggest expose of these people who call themselves journalists? Today, let me tell you, there is viral anger against this group. There is a virality of shock and even of people that these people who have always pretended to be the greatest saviors and on the side of the minorities in India are silently agreeing that the minorities in India are and will be used. This is blasphemy. This is the most rotten opportunism. This is toxic. This, Abhishek, is the spreading of hate by the Clubhouse journos. And when it is told by one of the Clubhouse journos that, look here, our meeting has been broken into, people are tweeting about it, then they begin to talk in hushed and silent whispers. Who is the Brutus among us? They say. And they name names, and then they suddenly go silent, and the meeting takes on a more cautious tone. I think this tape shows how groups of people in Lutyens operate as a very, very dangerous cabal. And I'm saying dangerous only for the very reason that they plot against the mandate. They want to subvert the mandate. But more importantly, they actually believe that sections of the Indian population, like the Muslims, must be used and fooled. You and I, in our journalistic observations, have often spoken about how political parties in India have, persecuted and used the Muslim community. But did any of us ever imagine, Abhishek, that there would be a group of people who would silently behind closed doors in Clubhouse conversations discuss openly the use, misuse and continued persecution of the Muslim community in India? And at the end of the day, all of this is justified in the name of countering Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because the underlying subtext to all of this is, how do you counter Modi? If you notice, there was one person who asked,
how do you make Mamata win again?
How do you make Mamata win again? Now tell me one thing, Abhishek. Is it necessary for a group of Clubhouse journalists to take upon themselves the onerous responsibility of making Mamata Banerjee win again? It is against the basic principles of journalism, and it reeks of the same kind of rotten opportunism that we saw during the Radia tapes conspiracy. If you remember, during the Radia tapes, there were individuals, who took upon themselves the responsibility of making certain people ministers in certain portfolios. Now, this is exactly a repeat.
And at least couple of names from those tapes are here also, Arnab, by the way.
I find it interesting. I have not had the opportunity to see who these Clubhouse journalists are, but is it not the same kind? Like, in a way, economic opportunism by making somebody who backs a certain corporate group a minister in the establishment during the Congress Raj, and now this is about not reporting objectively, but about interfering and trying to find ways in the fourth, right in the middle of an election, when you feel that your candidate is losing or could be losing her edge, that you come together to find ways, to prop her back. So I think there are many, many ethical questions.
Also, Arnab, I have a question. I have a question. While these journalists are taking this fact that Muslims might be used or manipulated by a certain political party in their stride, and they kind of believe in that. But on the other hand, when they are told that the Hindus might be consolidating, the Matuas might be consolidating towards the BJP, they are aghast. They are concerned that why this is happening.
No. Did you notice that one of them, in a very despondent tone, says, "But Prashant, who then is voting for Mamta? You are just saying the Hindus are voting.
Yeah.
You are saying within the Hindus,
Yeah.
the SCs are voting. You are saying the Matuas are voting. Who then is voting for Mamta?" Now, I think that particular question should go down as perhaps the best descriptor of the rotten group who we loosely describe as the Latins media. I mean, I think they have lost the plot. And they should show the courage to introspect and perhaps on behalf of themselves, the organizations they represent, issue some kind of apology for this or explanation for this. I'm wondering, and they're saying they were going to go under. I don't think they can go under. I think they have to come over ground right now, and accept that they have been working on behalf of political interests. But Abhishek, many serious questions emerge out of this Clubhouse journalist tape. Many serious questions.
Arnab, Clubhouse is already trending on social media, the hashtag,
Yes.
and I believe this just gives an idea of how people also see this development in terms of some set of journalists clearly visible that they have not been on the ground. They don't understand what's happening on the ground and are completely depending on what Prashant Kishor. In fact, I could sense a couple of times even Prashant Kishor is getting a little exasperated with the questions and trying to explain in as simple a manner as to what's happening on the ground and why these people don't understand, don't get it.
Let me tell you, I met Prashant yesterday, and I did an interview with him, Abhishek, and I think
he has been absolutely thorough professional, by the way, in these tapes. He has been thorough professional in these tapes. Taking great pains to make these so-called, journalists who are not going to the ground and trying to understand things for themselves as to why things are the way they are coming out from Bengal.
I could sense in Prashant's tone absolutely an exasperation with this Twitter folk who don't go on the ground, who don't report, whose entire existence is on the social media. They were almost seeking an explanation from Prashant that, Prashant, why can't you make the BJP lose? It was, and I think Prashant was getting exasperated because they were trying to almost, they had a right to use Prashant as their political instrument. And which is why when one of them stupidly asks who's going to vote for Mamta, Prashant is exasperated trying to explain the ground reality that there are 1 crore Hindi-speaking people. He's trying to explain the demography of Bengal, and it is apparent that these superficial people who are on this Clubhouse chat, the Clubhouse Journos, were not understanding this. I don't want to pitch my own interview today, but if anyone wishes to see a professional conversation with Prashant, in which I think I asked him very straight questions, and I must say to his credit, he gave very direct replies. They're free to watch the interview, which I think we are telecasting at 6 o'clock today. You can watch that in contrast to this ring fencing of Prashant. I would call this the ring fencing of Prashant Kishor by the Clubhouse Journos.
Absolutely. In fact, despite all the attempts he's making and going at great lengths to explain to them what's happening on the ground and why the electorate might turn out in a manner which perhaps these journalists might not like, the questions themselves are a giveaway of anxieties, Arnab, of concern that while on the one hand Congress is absolutely absent, all that Mamata has done might come to naught and she might not win.
Yeah. Yeah, I always look at this in contrast to what he said to me in the interview. Because in the interview, he repeatedly said that if the BJP crosses 100 or reaches 100, then he will wrap up his entire organization, IPAC, he will close it down and he will move on completely. Because there can be no IPAC without him. So the whole he's basically...
And in fact, tone of one journalist was that, Prashant, if Mamata is losing, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's almost as if they have given them the responsibility of winning. Are these journalists? Should we refer to these people as journalists? Or do they not appear to be more in the nature of interlopers? Would that be a more appropriate word for them? Because they are not journalists. They're not asking him serious questions like journalists do. They are one vested group. And I think more than Prashant Kishor or the Trinamool Congress today, it is the Clubhouse journos who have been exposed. And I think there needs to be a serious nationwide conversation about who these people are and who they are operating on behalf of.
Right. Arnab, we continue to discuss this story all day because this is, I believe, going to trend and bring out certain aspects of Lutyens' media. We have to cut to Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister. He's speaking in North Bengal.